they came prepared to play in a 4-4-2 mid-block. They stopped access to the central midfield. When we did try and access the central midfield, it was a pressing trigger for them. They pressed really effectively. They won the ball. And when they won the ball high up, they poured forward in numbers. More noticeably than I've seen any other team do against Spurs this season, I would say. With Willian and Iwobi obviously given specific instructions to get on their bikes as soon as Fulham won the ball. And supported, and I think really effectively supported by their fullbacks. Robinson, he had a very effective game. And Castagna, who I think is a technically extremely adept player, I thought he had an excellent match as well.
In a lot of ways, not a dissimilar setup to what we've seen a fair bit recently for first halves, right? Medium block rather than a low block, and passive to start, and then very aggressive for the first pass into midfield. So whether that's into Sarr, into Porro, into Kulusevski, inviting the pass to the wingers, and then being super aggressive, fullback onto winger. I'll come back to in possession. Out of possession, Fulham built from the back a little, played very, very deep, like onto their own byline, very, very wide, drew out our pressing, and then hit the ball long for competition for second balls. And this is why you and I think we probably should have moved to a midfield too, because Basuma was having a bad game in general. But struggling with the fight for the loose ball in that situation, often 1v2, but also just losing 1v1 in that situation for whatever reason. Their first goal came from that play, them doing that play twice in a row quickly. And obviously that's tiring for us and affects in possession and out of possession. In possession, I want to talk about, again, Fulham executing the game plan very well, mid-block, very narrow, by which I mean committing almost their entire team over to one side of the pitch, which is curious because I wonder if that's how they were going to just set up anyway in this game, or I wonder if that was about us playing with Dragusin in place of Van der Ven, because the way that we play in possession, the way that any team plays in possession in modern football basically, is you work the ball up one side of the pitch, you draw the opposition over to that side of the pitch, you play it back across your defensive line, then you play up the other side of the pitch where the opposition aren't. And if you do it fast enough, you can catch them off guard and attack space. If you don't do it quite fast enough, the opposition have to shuttle back over, and then you can do it the other side, and you can do the other side, and you wear them down, you tire them out, and you look for gaps, and then sometimes suddenly you can shoot it up the middle when there's a gap, or finally you get that break on the opposite side. What we're doing in this game, we play up the right-hand side. Again, Fulham very aggressive when we played up the right-hand side. Sarr, very low pass completion in this game. Kulusevski struggled to progress the ball in any meaningful way in this game. We'd play it back to Romero if we kept the ball at all. We'd play it over to Dragusin, and Dragusin would turn back and play it to Romero. And Udogie barely saw the ball in this game. Maddison didn't see the ball much in this game. He managed to find Brennan Johnson, but that was a trap. And when he played it to Johnson, they either won the ball or forced him backwards, or the pass didn't even find Johnson in the first place. I went back and I rewatched the Palace and Villa games for this as well. I really feel that the most significant problem in this game was Dragusin's distribution and how that affected our entire possession game. Which, by the way, is not to say, given that we were having these issues, given that we were incredibly right side biased in our possession game, that at that point Basuma shouldn't have gone, I need to do something different here, and I need to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and I need to make sure the ball's finding Udogie, I need to make sure the ball's, because Basuma defaulted to just playing the ball back again and again. And the thing is, that has worked for us recently, like especially the Villa game, and maybe I'll demonstrate this. Look at the Villa game, as in a lot of games this season, the opposition defending 4-4-2, they're putting two forwards on Basuma, right? So that he can't turn. And what that does is, if Basuma just stays in that pocket and only plays the ball back where it came from, or at least to the other centre-back, it creates lots of time and space for the centre-backs to make our play for us. But at the point where that's not happening with Dragusin, Basuma's got to start taking some risks and turning in that hole. And again, he's got to find Udogie, he's got to find Maddison. We conceded like 2.5 expected goals to Fulham, right? One of those is from a corner. I really don't like our new corner defending setup. We'll get into that. One of those is off a throw-in, an opposition throwing in their own half. This has been a consistent problem for us this season. Yeah, just
been ranting about that to Bardi.
Okay. And the other is from Fulham's possession. Again, a deep possession where they draw out our press and then smash it into the channel and win the second ball. But most of the time I felt the problems we were having defensively in this game were from Fulham winning the ball, like you said, Windy, and really committing hard to the counter. And that problem starts with our in-possession game.
We had a couple of questions about Dragusin. So Phil Krebs said, so what's up with Dragusin refusing to pass the ball to his left? And Blanky says, thoughts on Dragusin? He had bright sparks in the game, but clearly showed he has nowhere near the pace of Van de Ven and is definitely more suited to the right-hand side.
I mean, no one's as fast as Van de Ven, right? For the size he's at, but Dragusin ain't slow. Like, he swept up behind a couple of times.
I think my read on that, so I actually thought Dragusin was okay when I watched the game first time round. I thought his passing was not the best. It was okay. But when I watched it back, I was quite shocked at how many times he didn't aggressively put the press on Muniz. So when the team, because I didn't think our press was awful. I thought there was some we pressed high. We were ambitious with our press. It's just that it often fell down because one letting the side down. And on at least 3 or 4 occasions, that was Dragusin not joining the press, not committing to it fully. And so the lack of pace may be that he wasn't kind of on it with putting the press on. And I was really disappointed watching that back.
Okay.
And I do wonder if, in retrospect, I'm just thinking, God, if I just played Davis in this game, he was fine when he covered the majority of the time for Van de Ven. He's not a perfect player by any stretch, but he was fine. And I think he might have made a difference.
I would say with his defensive errors, with the missing of that run, with his hesitation to engage in our press, I would say, hey, look, it's his debut. I think he'll adapt. He'll get better at these things. He'll learn the system. Whereas with his on-ball game, I would say I'm really concerned about that long term. I'm concerned about that because I don't see him making huge strides there, and that's really going to affect our game. And that's in playing. That's in playing with Romero, who's our
ball player.
Ball player. When he plays with Van de Ven, how is the ball going to get forward at all? Let alone only up one side.